Hello everybody, my name is Lee Keither and welcome to Smokers on the Water.
La la la, la 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 la, la la la, la la.
Okay, per request, we're going to do a baby back rib video beginning to end. And starters, we've got our baby back ribs here. And what I'm going to do for manicuring a baby back, I always use a small paring knife. Gets in, does exactly what I want it to do. Attention gets the details in. One of the things I do though is if you see all this blood and juice or whatnot, what I like to do is, this will be in these bags, and this is Smithfield. And another thing, as far as meat for this video, or my channel for that matter, all the meat I ever get is going to be purchased at Walmart. And the reason for that is I want to make sure that the cuts of meat that I'll be using for the video are what everybody can have access to. It's not going to be some butcher that you have to struggle to find. Everything I'm going to be putting on the video is going to be from Walmart. Also helps with the price, but Walmart has got some good quality stuff. You just have to know how to look for it, what to look for as far as that goes. While we're at it, why don't we take a look at this right here? You'll notice that there's a nice evenness to the rack here. It's not all mangled. I don't have really something to compare it to, but you're gonna have to take my word for it. There are some selections in there that are kind of haphazard shaped. They don't have a full good rack to them. This is nice, plump and meaty on here. And the ribs, if you can see, they've got a uniformity to them, or semi-uniformity. They kind of start to bend in this direction, which is fine. That baby backs traditionally do that anyways. But this is has a good, nice uniformity, what you're looking for. So what I like to do is I'll take my knife and cut the top where it's fattest, like it's narrow here, fat here. I'll cut the top here where it's fattest. We've got this hole opening, and then for that, like I said, there's a lot of blood here and it's pooling up. I want to wash that off. So take this over to the sink while it's still in the bag. Run some cold water. And just fill the bag up. Get it? You got that bag full up. Right, now. And then you sort of squeeze the bottom here. Make sure there's no residual. And you notice how all that water is now pink. Well, that's the dilution of the blood that was on there. And the juices and whatnot. And it doesn't take much. You take your fingers, grab the end of it like this so that the water will pour out without the ribs actually coming out of the bag. And then just simply turn it over. Kind of hold it with the bag there. Get your fingers right up here up top and 2 ribs right there. Hold that. Just like so. And there you go. Now, I'm going to transfer it over to our cutting board here. I've got the benefit of having a glass stove, so if anything's hanging over the side, it's really not going to be that big of an issue. Also, use a bamboo cutting board. Bamboo cutting boards are really, really dense. They don't pick up, they don't absorb bacteria or anything like that. It's very, very difficult for them to, at least. But it's very, very food safe as far as the kind of cutting board. Now, the other thing is, you see the silver skin here, and you want to be able to pull that off. I'm going to start at the top here. And I'll slide my knife under here, blade side out, so when I go, I'm cutting this. I also have this little tiny shard of rib. this isn't going to stay. We're going to cut that out, but not right now. So we get that started. And now, looks like I got a good pull here, and I could probably keep going, but what I will recommend, and I'll show you, you'll take this will help you if you don't have a good grip on it, which it seems like I do. But either way, give that a pull, and if you're lucky, hopefully I am right now, just keep rotating it in, you keep getting that good grip, and almost looks like it's separated on me right there. Pull that. And there is your silver skin. You don't want that on your rack of ribs. Now, like I said, back here, you want to feel around, you got these little shard bones here. All right, pull this off. We're going to trim that. And that little bone's kind of dangerous. You don't want that stuff. So, now, the other step is I'm going to cut across here. Get a good sub so there's nothing really on here. This right here is another one of those little shard bones that you want to get rid of. And plus, that meat there is going to burn as well. Actually, that doesn't have any bones. I can use that. So I'm not going to throw this away. It's just not going to be part of the ribs. Cut off some of these little ends here. Put that. Flip this over. Take a peek on this side. And sure enough, there's going to be one more. It sort of looks like it's connected. No, there it goes. It's another little, I don't know if you can see that or the camera picks up. Yeah, see that little shard bone there? You don't want that. Just sort of trim. And basically you want it just kind of uniform. If there's any little bits off of the end there, because they'll burn and you don't want that. I'll sort of pull that. Got a good slice across there. Good slice across here. There's not a lot of tabbage. Here's a little bit right here. I'm going to set this back around like this. I'm going to take off one of my gloves here because I don't need this hand to have a glove on it. It's got the juices all on the glove, as you can see. But let's see, we can take this. Use your gloved hand for the meat. Dry hand for the utensils or anything else you might need. Now I can't touch that handle with this hand anymore, but I don't need to anymore because it's all been manicured now. We'll just toss that over here. It's time for the rub. Now, this is still a little wet, so we'll get a little pad dry. You don't want it too much. You want most of the moisture to still be there because it's going to get the rub to stick. Now, another thing about that is whether or not to use mustard. You can if you want. I used to do that. I found that it's not really necessary. Other people have found that it's not necessary either. And other YouTube barbecuers have mentioned that they don't do the mustard for the binder on ribs innings. the rub will stick. So, now my rub, I mentioned before, is going to be 50-50 Lowry's and coarse black pepper. And then I add, for let's say if I do a half a cup of Lowry's seasoning salt and a half a cup of black pepper, I'll add to that a tablespoon of ginger, powdered ginger, and a teaspoon of cayenne. And that's my rub. You know, it's kind of basic. You know, everybody likes it so far. But it's a good rub. 1 teaspoon of cayenne to that ratio it just adds just a teensy little pop, not anything hardcore. Those of you who know me, I go kind of hardcore, but I got to make these ribs for everybody else, so you know. But yeah, so that's my rib rub, and I'm gonna sprinkle it here. Just want to get enough on there to impart the flavor on it. The rule is you want to still be able to see the meat through the rub. And that means if you can see the meat through the rub, you got a better chance of the smoke getting through to the rub. And that's the main thing, because if you just powder coat this thing and rub, the smoke has to penetrate through the rub all of a sudden, and it's not going to be that good. You won't get the smoke where you want. Okay, you always do the back first because it's got that horseshoe thing, right? And you'll notice that the top of the ribs are constantly sticking and touching the cutting board. So if you did this in the other order, that would mean a lot of the rub, and you flipped it over, a lot of the rub would start getting on the cutting board. You don't want that. So you want to do the back side first, because it's going to rest. These ribs, these little rib tips here, are going to rest on there. Common sense wise, you'll know that this isn't going to touch the cutting board. So therefore, by which it'll stay there. And you know, most of y'all probably already knew that. And then, same thing. It's not like you're trying to powder coat a fancy set of brake calipers on here, no. You want to be able to see the meat through the rub. Be too light also. You want to generous, but not overly generous, you know. You can kind of see where I hit like right there. That's a little bit too much, but it'll live. We'll be fine with that. But that gives you an idea. If you did this throughout the entire rib, then you would have problems, at least I think you would have problems with the smoke penetrating the rub and getting to the meat. Right like this is, you can see the meat through the rub, and that is, at least in my opinion, that's ideal. Get some aluminum foil. Trying to do this one-handed is a little bit of a chore, but again, you don't want to touch any of your utensils, your seasoning containers, your aluminum foil thing. You don't want to touch that with your gloves or anything that has come in contact with meat. I can touch this and hold this down. This is about to come in contact with meat like a, you know. All right, so from there, we take our gloved hand, pick up the meat right there, stick it in here, and wrap it. Get around to where that is, and then take your other gloved hand, glove off your hand. You're good to go from there, because this is the other side of the foil. It didn't touch nothing. Put this in the fridge for about an hour. During that time, I'm going to light the grill up, get that thing up to temperature, and we'll see y'all there in a second. Okay, got the ribs folded up. They're in the oven. Hope you can hear me over the workers over there. Somebody's got a blower going. For my starter, just regular one sheet of newspaper, crumple it up, stick it in here, and then My charcoal chimney is very old and it's lost its thingamabob, the little wire thing that separates the paper from the charcoal itself. We still can use it. Went to Walmart today, tried to find one. Couldn't find one. They were out of charcoal chimneys. Something about a supply chain issue. But you want to separate these. You get 3 pieces of paper out of one. And they're stiffer than regular newspaper. So they burn a little bit longer. But you want them to be able to stick to the sides or press to the sides, whatever. Yeah, they'll kind of stay there, or at least they have so far. They've stayed there with the weight of the charcoal on them. Now, since this isn't a charcoal cook, this is a wood fire cook, I'm not going to use a whole lot of charcoal. I'm just maybe going to come up about halfway with the charcoal. I always keep old bags from previous bags of charcoal because you can recycle them as your charcoal starter paper. And like I said, you don't want to fill the whole thing up. You get to conserve some charcoal that way too, so that's pretty good. Test it out. At least I have to do this. If you got a charcoal starter or charcoal chimney that's got the grate there, the separator grate, you don't have to do this. But what I have to do is pull on this and make sure that that paper's staying there. And I'm gonna get me a lighter. And come on over here real quick. Now, what I'm going to do is outside of the chimney start my paper on fire. This one little piece of paper. Get it going. And then I'll lift that up. I'll rotate it over. You'll notice it's starting to catch. And you set that down. Open up your fire door. In about 10 minutes or so, we should have good, nice white hot coals to go. And we'll start setting our wood on there, start heating up the grill. Alright? So there we go. That's well on its way. And if you remember from the previous videos, all these leaves weren't here before. This is what the lake looks like. And all them leaves come in. But anyway, that's going. Here pretty soon we can dump that out, put some wood on there, get this thing rolling. Okay, now come over here and you can see about where the charcoal is. You got that? Yep. And now what we're going to do is, because it doesn't have a bottom, I don't have to tip it over and pour it. That's all I got to do right there. It's actually kind of somewhat convenient. I don't know. It's broken. Don't get me wrong. This is a broken charcoal chimney, but there's the results. Works. Getting good to go. Got to get it up to temperature, so I'm going to start out with 3. Once it's all going and you got your temperature gauge up to about 250, that's when you're going to just use one of these at a time. I'm going to keep this open for right now, get the oxygen level, but while I'm here, got my little disposable container. If you don't remember from the last video, these you can get 5 for $1, now $1.25 at Dollar Tree. You take your lard. Now, what I like to do, the measurements for this, is 2 scoops for every 1 rack. We're only doing 1 rack today. So let's take 2 big generous scoops like that. I want to keep it a little, you know. Take this out the way. Pull this out. And I'm going to open this up now. One of the problems with this is this weld break. We're going to be fixing that later, but it's a little bit of an inconvenient thing. Little PITA, if you get the acronym, but not the end of the world. We'll work around it. I'm going to be getting me a welder and welding that into place. Now, for this, I'm going to pull the grate out and get my water pan. Put my water pan in, just like that. Put it on there so you still have the smoke going through. You got the baffle in place. Remember, that turned into a really good tuning plate. And it's still been working good. We've done another biscuit test. We didn't do a video for that, but we did it just to make sure everything's good. It was. The lard goes here. As you remember before, there's your chimney. You want the lard right next to the chimney so that that smoke will get over that over time. That's going to go turn into some golden liquid, and that's what you want. So for right now, fire's going. I'm going to drop this down. Give a little wiggle. Make sure that these 2 seams here are even. And got a good fire going. Now we're going to let that go with the door open and get those logs caught real good. And then once that's happening, I'm going to drop that down. It's only going to take about maybe 5 minutes. Not too long. But yeah, so once we get that going, we'll shut that. The smoke's going to go through, the heat's going to go through. Get this temperature up. We want it to sit at a good consistent 250, 275, or somewhere around there. You don't want it any lower than 225, so that's kind of your parameter. You want it lower than 225, higher than 275. So there's your window that you're kind of going after. Anywhere in there and you're good to go. So I'll shut this here pretty soon, and then we'll put on the ribs. Okay, so now if you see that, probably doesn't show up on camera that well, but the temperature is at 250. That's a good riding point on there. So what we're going to do now, it's been sitting there a good while. Gotta get our prop stick. Shouldn't need this, but we do. And stick that in there. Make sure it's secure. And then we're going to pop this on. I'm going to put the meteor set. Well, it doesn't matter really, but I'm going to put this like this. Now, one of the things is you don't want to stretch it out. You want to actually shove it in. And the reason for that is it makes the meat thicker, and once it starts cooking, it's going to actually lock into that position. If you stretch it out, then it's real thin. It makes it more thin, so you don't want that. You want to sort of bunch it up like that. That makes it a little bit thicker, makes it juicier, just works better. And as you see, that's starting to take on the smoke. That'll get even more golden as it goes, as the cook goes. All right, so we got that, and you can take this. Actually, take my gloves off so I'm not touching anything anymore. If we got that in, set that down. Set that in. This will get back up to temperature real quick. So that's going. Got the fire going. And get that temperature back up to 250. I'm going to lay it down, and then in 90 minutes we are going to do our spritz. Now this again is half apple cider vinegar, half water. 90 minutes we'll spritz that out a little bit. See you in a minute. Well, hopefully this is coming through. Let's see if you can see the fluctuation there, but that is very, very clear. There is, it might sound counterintuitive, but when you're smoking, you want a very, very clean fire, and that smoke actually turns transparent. You'll get the best flavor out of that smoke. You don't see the smoke, and that says, well, how are you smoking anything if you don't see smoke? Trust me, this is what you're looking for. You might be able to see a little bit of it, but the smoke you'll see, if any, is going to be a very, very, very light blue to transparent. And that is what you're looking for. You're doing that, you're burning a very, very clean fire, and that's going good right there. Ribs are inside. Temperature is at 225, sitting pretty. My buds, I'll tell you what, this is what you're looking for. All right, so we're at the 4-hour mark, and if you remember the last video, I don't do a 3-2-1, I do a 4-in-1, because I'm partial to the dry rub method, not putting any sauce on the back end of it. I'm also going to do the brisket method, as like last time. I'm going to check the temperature on this real quick. You should. And when you hit that, you want to make sure you don't touch bone. You just want to see if you're past the stall point. Now it looks like, looks good. Alright, so it's going to hover around 178, 179. So now the stall point, basically, when you when the meat I think it's when the juices catch up with the internal heat going out versus the temperature of the oven going in. At least that's what I think it is. I don't know. But there is such a thing as a stall point. You got to push it past that. And get your temperature up to about 275 to pull that off. But in the meantime, we're going to get our pink butcher paper. Get a good spot of that off. And what we do, we're going to get the oven mitt for this one, because that tray is a little hot, but I'll show you that here. Notice how that's all nice and golden? That's the smoke. And what you want to do is soak your butcher paper down there. Just a little baste in there. Just like so. Now, yes, ordinarily you do this with brisket, but that's with tallow. This is with lard. Put it face down. Tuck these under. Just like that. Set that going in there. And then we're going to let it sit there. We're going to get the temperature up to about 275 and put that on for another hour like that, and that should get it past the stall point. The temperature you're looking for is about 205, and you want it to sit at 205 for a minute, and that breaks down all the collagen and renders all the fat inside there to where it's really nice and juicy like that. Anyways, that's the goal. So we'll go ahead and check that. I'm going to put another log on there, make sure that's getting good and hot, and we'll come back in an hour. Okay, we're at the 5-hour mark, and this has been going pretty good. I'm going to open this up, see where we're at, but we should be around 205, give or take. Carry these out. Yeah. And we'll flip. Let's see, stick the thermometer in a nice meaty part here. And hopefully you can see that. See. So it's losing a little bit, and it's about 185. What I'm going to do is kick the fire up, leave it unwrapped like this. Give it a little bit more time. Add a few more logs to this. Get the temperature back. Almost there though. It's past the stall point. It got up to 191. One of the temperature spots was 191. It's not there yet, but shouldn't take too much longer. Maybe another 30 minutes, give or take. I'm going to kick this back up to 275, and we'll see where we're at in about 30 minutes. All right. We moved it into the kitchen where we had more light. The sun went down, so let's check the temperature. Looks like we're about there. And also we can do the bend test. You'll notice the meat is pulled away from the bone there. It's a good indicator there. And right there. Let's go ahead. And there you go. Let's see the pink around there. Got a good bark. Yeah. These are going to be a little bit warm, as you can tell. You got your smoke going on. Good bark. And it's technically sort of fall off the bone without being actually fall off the bone. So you got a good bite. And there you go. So, Chris Weaver, this is the video you requested. Here they are, start to finish. Now we're going to have dinner, so we're going to sign off. Have a good one. Well, thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And we'll try to have some more videos out here shortly. And stay tuned for the next one. Thank you for watching.